It was a bitter, cold, and snowy day when those with warm hearts came to Arlington National Cemetery to celebrate the life of General Joe Foss. There were fellow Marines, other recipients of the Medal of Honor, generals and senators, businessmen and athletes, family and friends, and many who only knew him as a hero from afar. At 87, World War II's top Marine ace, the former governor, had achieved as much in peacetime as in war. At the chapel and the gravesite, he would be remembered and revered. 24 hours later, those closest to him, supported by government and private sector leaders, would come together to make Joe's dream come true. The Joe Foss Institute would launch its program to send combat veterans into our schools to help inspire patriotism among young Americans. To say the least, Joe's vision has been embraced by those who knew him and those who were just moved by him.
Mr. Vice President. Good morning, Dee Dee, members of the family and friends. I usually begin every day meeting with the President in the Oval Office, where we receive our national security briefing. And it occurred to me today that this is the very place where Franklin Roosevelt presented the Medal of Honor to Marine Corps Captain Joe Foss, the Medal of Honor for aerial combat unsurpassed in World War II. I'm honored to join all of you today in paying tribute to one of the bravest men I've ever known and that this nation's ever produced. Joe loved America, and he devoted most of his energy and his time to serving his fellow citizens. "There's nothing I wouldn't do for this country," Joe once said, and like everything Joe said, he meant it.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Hello, I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News in New York, and I want to take just a few moments of your time to talk to you about my friend Joe Foss. For me, Joe always personified the idea of American public service and patriotism. Those were the twin ideals that guided his life along with his faith. Now that Joe is gone, it's up to the rest of us to advance the work of the Foss Institute, which will make plain to generations of students and young people who have not known the bitter taste of war or its terrible costs, how important it is to be a patriot and a dedicated citizen in this country. These are troubled times, unsettling to a lot of young people, and so it's time once again for them to think about their place in this great country. That's the very least that we can do for our late friend, the great Joe Foss.
Dr. Martin Luther King said one time, "I don't know what the future holds, but I do know who holds my future." I can't think of another person, maybe other than the great Martin Luther King, that knew who held his future more than Joe Foss, a man of faith and freedom and family, God and country. Could there be a greater role model for those young students who are going to be blessed by the teachings and the interactivity of the work of the Foss Institute? And let me just say parenthetically, Dee Dee, and to you, Gus, I will go anywhere, anytime, any place to help raise the money for the Institute.
We don't send our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardsmen around the world to fight for gold or colonial conquest. We do it to give others the hope of freedom that we enjoy. We do it to keep our own liberties and to give them just the chance that they can have what we do. That's what it's really all about, and that's why the legacy of Joe Foss and the Foss Institute is so important.
Stop looking back and let's look ahead, because the past really is prologue. And he'd be the first to say that. So let's turn all these very kind and heartfelt words into something that even better, something greater, and if we can use that past to positively influence the future, then that's the greatest living memorial. Joe had concerns about our future, particularly about our young people, those who will determine that future and our position in the world. And if we're to build an even greater nation, then the foundation of our past and our shared responsibilities for the future must be known and appreciated. And it means being dedicated to something larger than just self, I, me. It means being dedicated to a larger purpose. It means being dedicated to working together. It means being dedicated to pride in country and what it stands for, and then patriotism. The Foss Institute is dedicated to the restoration of patriotism, integrity, and an appreciation for America's freedoms. Appreciation for America's freedoms. Our mission is to instill these values by making presentations to 1 million school-aged children across America each year. And who better to carry that message into the schools and across this country of ours than those who have borne the battle, those who have been shot at, those who have really sacrificed themselves for this country, the veterans of this country. So that's what this is all about.
Now, I want you all to know that we are on target and we're moving ahead aggressively. Patriotism is everybody's business. It must be protected, nurtured, or we will lose it.